There is no crying in baseball. One of my first big college admissions recruitment trips took us to the city of Richmond, to the sports center located at the very place where the farm team for the Atlanta Braves once played. And one of the few sports logos that I knew from a baseball legend who had broken simultaneously a color barrier and the home run record of a Yankees sports legend decorated a small baseball stadium. The three of us had traveled to the former capital of the Confederacy to continue a diversity recruitment effort after General Lee's College in the Shenandoah had passed through its own historic milestone, beginning co-education. And in that convention hall space, we were there to pitch an offer of an opportunity to pursue an American dream. Hit a home run for those who had best prepared themselves to compete in the big leagues of academic scholarship. And decades later, as I returned to that location, just 1 week after former Congresswoman Gabrielle Giffords had visited the legislature, the depressed areas of Richmond that were no strangers to violence, having had just an infant shot in gang violence only weeks before, erupted into a day-long drama just across the street from those playing fields that had replaced the former Atlanta Braves logo with a banner that simply read, "Go Nuts." But there was no crying in baseball. There was no crying in baseball. It is a line from one of the only few that populate the amazingly small genre of American sports films. And with a practically all-woman cast, it was truly in a league of its own, while telling a story set in an American history for America's great generation, about America's favorite pastime at a time in the nation when the men went off to fight the wars to save the world in the Pacific and Europe. And yet, even during those times, with a nation steeped in Great Depression, while battling against kamikaze fighters and Nazi blitzkrieg over there, as we kept the home fires burning, there was no crying in baseball. Even after Jackie Robinson had survived a court-martial in the Army, he had to maintain a stiff upper lip and demonstrate great courage, because in America, there is no crying in baseball. It is, at once, the sport that bonds a father and a son, that will introduce him to a large leather mitt and a wooden Louisville slugger, and maybe even get the chance, like I did with my dad, to journey out to Yankee Stadium to see the rivals play, with neither father nor son knowing what exactly was occurring on the field, nor even knowing who won or lost, just having a great time and family connections and bonding, enjoying a ballpark hot dog for a memory of a lifetime, because there is no crying in baseball. Charlie Brown could get knocked on his back by Lucy, and he never cried in baseball. It is a sport where most of us learned as children that it does not matter whether you win or lose, but how you play the game, because there is no crying in baseball. At the end of the season, Republicans and Democrats can join fans in the thousands, all decked out in uniform, to pack themselves into National Stadium, endure an American anthem, resisting the desire to take a knee, and transition peacefully to a celebration from one team or for the other opposing at the end, because there is no crying in baseball. But just a few short years ago, on playing fields just across the river from the nation's capital, a known partisan volunteer had the casual opportunity to stroll around even while armed with a 3-foot assault rifle, and was able to inquire amongst patrons whether the persons on the playing field were Democrats or Republicans. Even in the aftermath, when the president came to the city to honor the courage of the responding officers, some could not resist the temptation to corrupt even that solemn ceremony with a taint of partisan bickering, despite the long-cherished tradition that there is no crying in baseball. It was the same partisan spirit that could not observe a peaceful transition of power during the inaugural last, that could not even provide the normal 100-day honeymoon, and that doggedly pursued until it finally obtained an impeachment inquiry and hearing, and who found it profane that there might be no crying in baseball. Or in America, great again. If you build it, they will come. When a voice from heaven may seem like a childish fantasy in Hollywood, the voice of a spirit seems not to offend. Many enjoyed the film Field of Dreams with its A-list cast, but somehow another tale of persons who crossed an ocean, many pursuing their religious convictions and fleeing from a tyrannical persecution, and where many came from all the world around to play on its fields was somehow inimical to a divisive animus that found it profane that there was no crying in baseball and could not find any joy in an America great again. And whatever Lola wants, Lola gets is one of the most memorable songs from a musical about America's favorite pastime, intermingled with the Faustian legend that was brought to literary form by Marlowe and Goethe. Just like Mets fans or sports fans in any city that had never won a game, there was yet a sense of contentedness in just playing a wholesome game, if they only had heart. But the tempting lure of fame and fortune and the irresistible urge to find victory even at any cost, both in Faustian legend and all too often in life and politics, delivers many not from evil and into temptation, but for the joy of victory and the chance to say, I won. But if a man gain the world but lose his soul, what profit he? One moral philosopher once asked. Is it not better at the end, with history our final arbiter, to be able to say, like a once converted man, that we have fought a good fight, run a good race, and kept the faith? And one of the best baseball movies of all time chose for its star the very same man who had been the main character in films such as High Noon, Sergeant York, and Meet John Doe. And in that Pride of the Yankees story, fighting a losing cause, capturing the words of the legendary Lou Gehrig. One of the final lines heard him say, Today, I feel like the luckiest man in the world. My name is Major Mike Webb, and by God, I am running for governor of Virginia. I ask every Christian, every conservative, every Republican, every Virginian, and every American true to, like the motto of the infantry, follow me, and we shall overcome. Honest. And y'all go back now. Here. This advertisement was authorized by Mike Webb.